let's get to this other topic that I want to talk about. So last night, there was a lot of yesterday was a huge sports day.
Big sports day.
Holy
Big sports
cow.
weekend.
Big sports weekend. I watched the Ranger game. There was baseball all weekend.
Euro 2016.
Euro 2016.
Yeah.
Which I locked into that France and Switzerland game for a bit.
U.S. Open. Golf.
U.S. Open, golf. There was, and of course, the one that everybody was really excited about, the NBA Finals. Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Cleveland brings home, the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Golden State Warriors to bring home Cleveland's first title in, 50-something years?
Yeah, 52.
I'm not an NBA guy. You're not an NBA guy.
No, not really.
You watched it.
It was a good game.
I heard.
Game.
I'm not an NBA guy, but it's obviously a huge thing for Cleveland to bring back a title, and for Cleveland to bring home a championship first major. There you go. It's up on ESPN. First major championship in 52 years.
Yeah.
52 years. That's impressive.
A long time.
That's a long championship drought. It's a long drought. So
You got you thinking.
got me thinking about droughts. Got me thinking about not the kind of drought that we're bound to have this summer.
Right.
But instead, playoff droughts. And we've gone through and figured out the longest playoff droughts in the state in each classification. Figure out who is most likely to break the drought. Okay, we start with the longest drought in the state.
Any classification.
Any classification.
Okay.
Houston Northbrook. So Houston Northbrook has been around since 1974, and they have never made the playoffs.
Wow.
Okay, that's not good juju there. And I'll tell you, things aren't looking great. They went 3-7 last year, but they are not projected to be. They're projected to struggle. They do bring back 5 starters on offense, 5 starters on defense, but this is a very tough district that they're in. If you take a look at their district. Down there in District 15. They're in the Klein-Collins, Klein Oak, Stratford district. The chances of them really jumping up and doing and making the playoffs for the first time don't look very promising. In 5A, North Dallas. So North Dallas, the alma mater of my grandmother.
Nice.
So there's that. Go Steers. North Dallas, I'll tell you, they've got a shot. They have not been to the playoffs since 1952.
Yeah.
Okay? 1952.
It's a long time.
It's a very long time. And I'll tell you, I think they got a shot.
Really?
Right? It's an outside shot because you look at the top of District 12 5A. Woodrow Wilson is usually going to be pretty good. Seagoville usually has athletes. Yeah. But then I think you've got this batch of 4 teams here with Adams, Adamson, Sunset, and then North Dallas. Yeah. And 2 of those teams are making the playoffs. They went 5-5 last year and missed the playoffs, okay? They bring back 7 starters on both sides of the ball. I think this is the year. I think North Dallas is breaking the streak, making the playoffs for the first time since 1952. That's what I'm going. All right.
All right.
Down in 4A, staying in the DFW area, Fort Worth, Diamond Hill, Jarvis. Ooh boy, they have not made the playoffs since 1954.
Jeez.
It's a tough thing, pal. They have not made the playoffs since 1954. Now, here is what is working in their favor. Okay, in District 5 4A Division 1, 5 4A Division 1. Here's what's working in their favor. It's a 16 district, so 2/3 of that district is making the playoffs. Yeah. Here's what doesn't work in their favor. Kennedale, they're making the playoffs, right? We are cool saying they're making the playoffs.
They're making the playoffs.
Mineral Wells,
making the playoffs.
10-win team from year 4. Springtown, probably making the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then you've got Lake Worth, not a bad team.
Yeah, solid team.
And then the other team kind of down there in the bottom in the cellar would be Fort Worth Castleberry. This is a team that went 0-10 last year. This is a team that has not had a win. They've gone 0-10 each of the last 5 seasons. Yeah. So I don't, even with 15 starters back, it's hard to see Diamond Hill Jarvis breaking through.
Not as likely for them.
Hey, Max, do you know who has the longest playoff drought in Class 3A?
I don't.
Dimmitt.
Oh, really?
Dimmitt has not made the playoffs since 1976.
Wow.
And boy, they got their heart broken last year.
That's right. Yes.
I think there's a lot of teams. I think there's a lot of people who thought that it was going to be their year last year when they started off in non-district play and they started off 4-1.
Yeah.
And everyone's
look sharp.
Guys, maybe this is the year. They get redistricted into the Canadian district, which stinks.
Yeah.
But Childress is probably going to make the playoffs.
Childress for sure.
Spearman. Basically,
too.
They're probably fighting with Amarillo, Highland Park, and maybe Tulia if Tulia gets their act together.
Yeah, that won't be easy.
But 14 starters back, I'm not super optimistic that they can make the playoffs. In 2A, 2A is the kind of, because it's always been the smallest classification. They've had smaller districts, and so it's we've only got one team that hasn't made it in this century,
right?
And that's Cushing. Cushing has not made the playoffs since 1997, but this is another example of a team that started off hot. They started off 4-1 in non-district, and everyone's going, "Oh my gosh, is this the year that happens?" Go 0-5 in district, and they collapse. And I'll tell you, it's probably not happening again this year. 8 starters back total, and they're in the district with Alto, Shelbyville, St. Augustine, Price, Carlisle. Even throwing Joaquin in that mix.
Boy, you talk about some of these teams like them and Dimmitt, right?
Yeah.
These are this is a strange psychology because you're going to have to endure some blowouts, right, against really good teams, but you also have to be able to compartmentalize for those games that you feel like you have a shot in, right? There's a real juxtaposition of mentalities in that, like, we have to do our best against teams who just have more than we do.
Absolutely.
But then regroup in time, week to week for these teams where we might have a shot. So
yes.
That's not easy.
So here's the thing about Prairie Lee. So Prairie Lee is the team with the longest playoff drought in not only in the state, not only in six-man football, but also in the state. So they have not made the playoffs since 1944.
Ooh.
But it's also important to remember that Prairie Lee discontinued their football team for a long, long time. I'm trying to find the exact. I want to find the exact number of years. But they discontinued their football team for quite a while. They've recently kind of dug it back up and tried to put it back into contention, but it just hasn't worked out well. Also, being in the same district as Calvert won't help things. This is a team that, now they bring back 10 starters, which on a six-man team is a ton.
Pretty good.
But when you're talking about having to get past Calvert, you got to pencil them in there, and then you've got Oglesby and Buckholz, both teams with better pedigrees than Prairie Lee does. I just don't see Prairie Lee making the playoffs again.
Tough
this year. So, but it's easy. I think it's easy to talk about teams that win a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's why we got really excited last year when Houston Scarborough won a game.
Yeah, for sure.
As far as a winning streak is concerned,
you can't be getting the monkey off your back.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's tough.
Yes. So right now that Houston Scarborough has won a game, the longest active winning streak, if you're interested at all, is Diamond Hill Jarvis. Diamond Hill Jarvis, because they've lost 50
longest active losing streak.
I'm sorry. They've lost 57 in a row. Dating back to 2010. They haven't won a game since 2010. Now, I think it's possible that Diamond Hill Jarvis could get off of that list. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The playoffs probably
there's a chance
long
there,
one.
for sure.
Past that, Houston Sam Houston, which is now Houston Math and Science and Technology. They changed the name of that.
Yeah.
They've lost 37 in a row. Penelope has lost 29 in a row down to six-man. As far as from a six-man team, you've got Houston Sam Houston, but also Pasadena Rayburn has lost 27 in a row. And then you're getting into Baytown Lee, which lost 27 in a row, etc. But, if the Cleveland Cavaliers can win an NBA title, then these teams can get off the losing streaks and maybe
one of these teams can borrow LeBron for 1 week.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Six-man football with LeBron?
Do you think his UIL eligibility is expensed?
I'm sure we could sneak him in.
I bet we could.